I'm not
gonna
saying
leave me?
anything.
I was gonna say you're gonna leave me hanging.
I'm not going to say a damn thing.
Okay.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to another jam-packed action edition of David Lee Madison's The End of the Night. This here, let me see, this way right here is my dear friend, my partner in crime, my producer, my co-host, and my dear friend, Mr. Joe Ridgely. Joe, how are you tonight, my friend?
I am excellent, and not only am I excited to see you and our guest, but well, there's that other guy that's been missing.
Wow, you know, we scoured the countryside. We checked every brothel. We checked every prison.
We put up posters.
We put up wanted posters, and lo and behold, thank God, the wonderfully talented Grunkle Scott will be back on the program tonight. I missed him something fierce. Hey, Sean, I hope you're well. It's nice to see that you're joining us. So I see. Did JW do a show on Batman the other night?
He did, and he has another one tomorrow night.
Now, what Batman did he do a show on? The Michael Keaton one?
The '89 Michael Keaton one, and tomorrow night he's doing Batman Returns.
Okay. In honor of my dear friend JW, who has a cool show tomorrow night. It's so funny because this just came in the mail yesterday. But I got myself, how cool is this? An original pack of Batman Returns cards from Topps.
Wow.
It's still sealed. Batman Return cards from Topps. I'm not going to open them, but I'll show you the cool outside packaging. How cool is that?
Can you feel the crunchy gum inside?
No, it doesn't feel like it has gum.
Oh.
It's very, very flat. See?
Huh.
There's no gum. It doesn't feel like they gave you a lot of cards back in the day either.
Yeah, it looked pretty thin.
Oh, these are stickers, actually. I should read my own thing.
Stickers.
5 movie photo stickers.
So they used to have the sticker albums.
Yeah, but these are like card size, though. So I think they're like card size stickers.
What they had was they had the sticker albums where they're numbered and you place the sticker on the scene.
In a certain place, right.
Yeah.
But I would surmise that they probably didn't put gum in them because the wax would probably destroy the sticker. So what the hell do I know?
Fair enough.
Are you excited about the new Batman movie that has Michael Keaton in? How you doing, Ken? I hope you're well.
I am actually. Did Ken say something, man? I'm freaking slacking. Sorry, Ken. I am, but I'm not. I mean, changing the whole universe again. Gunn doing what he's doing. I'm uneasy about it. Everybody's excited about it, but I don't know.
Probably the laser cut stickers. Okay, sounds like a plan to me. I also got in the same package, because I'm absolutely an enormous Lugosi fan, the Mego Bela Lugosi Dracula that are individually numbered.
Holy
right
cow, that's amazing.
You think it looks like him? I guess it does look like him.
Does he glow in the dark?
I don't... No, hold on a second. It's glow in the dark. No, he doesn't appear to glow in the dark.
And even Ken saying, yeah, the multiverse is confusing for my whole brain. But that's cool. The old Migos, the Universal monsters, didn't they glow in the dark?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
I
no.
thought Frankenstein.
Because
and everybody.
the creature from the Black Lagoon, which was green, oddly enough, but he did, I don't think he did. But actually, these were licensed by the Lugosi estate, which you see right here, and
There.
I guess it kind of looks like Bella. I loved Bella Lugosi as a kid. If you're out there and you want to buy a good book, my brother Bob wrote a book called The First 100 Years of Dracula, and he has unbelievable stories about Bela Lugosi in it. So if you're perusing Amazon and you want to buy a good vampire book, check out Bob Madison's Dracula: The First 100 Years. Shameless plug of my brother, because that's what brothers do.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Why can't I pronounce that right now?
Nosferatu.
Thank you. That was the official first Dracula movie. No.
Yeah, it sounds like something that well, he wasn't Dracula. He was Nosferatu, unless you're just using Dracula as a term for
A
vampire.
vampire. I'm
Right.
sorry. Yes.
Yeah. No. Yes, Nosferatu was one of the very first movies overall. It's funny because most people don't realize that Hollywood was literally built on horror films. And now horror films don't really get the love that they truly deserve. But the original King Kong, 1933, as I remember, 1931's Frankenstein and Dracula, and then later on The Wolfman and The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Bride of Frankenstein, and Dracula and Dracula's Castle, and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, all these
Man and
Invisible Man, all these universal horror films. Of course, Nosferatu, all these super early films were the biggest hits of their time, and now are probably responsible for Hollywood being what it is today. But no love for horror films. So I know our dear friend Wendy, the voice of the woman of a million voices, has a big show coming up. She's going to be at Carolina Fear Fest.
Carolina Fear Fest, and on Thursday night she's going to have actor and producer Brett Big Schwag Wagner, who was from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 remake, Monster Garage, which was a very popular show on the Discovery Channel, Volition, which he was in with Dan Yeager, who was also Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D and The Evil 3. Ron Fazio, who was an NFL player in the mid-'80s. He played for the Eagles a couple of seasons. He was also in Basket Case 2, and he was the Toxic Avenger in the Toxic Avenger Part 2 and 3. Also producer and booking agent for Carolina Fear Fest, Matt Burns, will be joining them.
It's one of my closest friends was the star of the Basket Case series. He's actually been on the show. Was he only on once, or was he on a couple times, Kevin Van Henrik? I think he might have been. He was on once as a solo and then was on a holiday show, I think.
He was on one of your shows, and he was on the online convention.
Ah, that's right. That's right. The online convention. Was it 2019?
No, that was 3 years ago, I think.
Oh, so 2020.
Yeah, that sounds about right. When COVID first hit.
COVID just started. Yeah, I thought COVID started in 2019. I just lose track of all this stuff. Hello, have Cheetah Will View. Greetings to you. Without further ado, let's bring our lovely co-host, our dear friend, lovingly called on this program, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo. Is Grunkle Scott ready to come back and join us here on the end of the night?
Give me a thumbs up, Mr. Schiaffo. He's good to go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I pulled the trigger too fast. Damn it.
Grunkle Scott Schiaffo.
I got excited. He's back. I had to pull the trigger.
You guys. Hey, man, how are you? Good to see you, boys.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, hanging in there, man. No complaints, and happy to be back. It has been quite a while.
Tell us about your wild escapades on the road. Is there anything that you're able to share with us? Any crazy shenanigans that you and your Clerks castmates are up to, or you and the kooky O'Halloran are up to? Anything that...
I could tell you this, a quickie. I'll try to be as quick as possible.
Take your time.
I've always, I get asked a lot about, has there ever been anything really bizarre or scary or whatever. Good to see you. Hey, Sean, how are you? Um, this time, there was a gentleman who put a. I was nervous. I thought he was going to be a problem. Now I'd seen him at other cons. He had come to our tables at other cons, so I saw his little routine. He's got a long, sort of long cloak jacket, and you could tell by looking at the fellow that something just might be a little off, but no judgments because hey, it's a convention. There's all types.
Are you sure it wasn't Kevin Smith?
No.
No, okay.
He comes up to the table, and he did this at other shows. He would come up, and this time I think he came up to Marilyn's table, and he said, I work in, he says something along the lines of, I work with the public, and then he yells out, like in a really inappropriate way, and I hate the effing customers. But he said, like scarily, like you're not expecting it. But I saw this cat do it once before. Like everybody freezes because he doesn't laugh, and he's literally like deadpan. And I was like, oh man, he's just doing his thing. But this time, he circled around a few times, and then he was like talking to himself very loudly to the point where security were watching him. And then he made a little fort right in front of our tables. There was a pillar, and he sat up against it, like laying out like it was the Port Authority in the 70s.
Wow.
And security finally came over to see what was up. But honestly, I was really thinking, I was getting scared, and I don't want to taint the convention circuit. But with the craziness going on in the world, I'm thinking eventually, and very sadly, there's been shootings at schools and there's going to be a shooting at a convention. I'm thinking this guy is going to, I got started to get really worried, but he did spend money at the booths. He got his autographs, his pictures, but he did get asked to move on. But it was the first time in like 15 years of doing these gigs that something went down that genuinely scared me. And I guess
it might have been a dead giveaway when he asked you to sign his AR-15.
Jeez.
It was, it wouldn't nearly be as unsettling if we didn't live in the world we live in now. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought the guy's going to shoot the place up. But, we live in a really insane world where shootings go on weekly, whatever.
Well, Ken said the next time you're in Canada, if you guys need a bouncer, he's available. And Libby is showing some love.
Libby,
I owe Libby some dough, man. Somebody bought a Darkness Waits, a Blu-ray. All excited.
Wow.
I was very happy, because they really thought I explained to them what it was, and I think they looked it up online, and they actually came back the next day, and
they said that Madison sucks in that movie.
No, they were very complimentary, and it was really exciting. It was nice to have somebody. It's nice when things other than the Clerks-related stuff on my table gets a little action. So Libby, you're getting love from somebody in the Philly area for the Blu-ray, and I owe you a royalty of some sort.
And that was a great movie. I was very honored to be a part of. We had a great time going out to that one, didn't we, Scott?
Oh, dude, because of the sale of it, when I came home, Carrie and I revisited it, and I was like, wow, this is so few. There's not a lot of, I don't have a lot of screen time out in my career that I don't wince. And I actually looked at it and I go, wow, these scenes came out really well. I was very happy with what I saw on a reviewing, years later. So.
And it's available on Tubi, everybody.
Woo! Go stream that mofo, man. Stream that mofo.
Especially on Tubi.
No, wait a minute. It's that one and Dead Woman's Hollow as well is on Tubi.
It's a twofer. You got to watch them both.
See, we're pushing for you, Libby. And Matt.
Oh, look, Mr. Schiaffo put Full Moon Fever on his line there. I'm very, very
I was waiting for you to notice that.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm hoping that's the next film I'll be able to say that I'm. Oh, I think I already know the answer to that. That I'm, because actors are tough on themselves, and there's not a lot of stuff I've done that I go, well, I'm happy with what I did there. I always think I could have done it a lot better. Or I should have
As the guy who made the movie, I was absolutely humbled. It's very, very strange because both you and Libby unbelievably blow my mind in Full Moon Fever as far as performance. I don't know. I must have gotten you guys liquored up or something, because I know it wasn't my direction that took you there. You guys did an amazing, amazing job in that film.
Well, you know what? I think you probably made us feel ultimately very comfortable, and that an actor can be vulnerable. I saw some of Libby's stuff, and I agree. I was very, very, very impressed with her. I mean, it's not her whole scene, I don't think, obviously, because you had bits in it, I guess, in the trailer, but looked really good.
Yeah, no, she did an amazing job. Well, Grunkle Scott, it's awesome to have you back, and we probably shouldn't leave our lead guest waiting so long, because here we are talking like a bunch of chatty schoolgirls, and we have an amazing writer sitting in the green room. So without further ado, this is a young man I met on the convention circuit. He's just a really great guy. He's one of the better young writers that I know on the circuit these days, and I'm super excited to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Andrew Forman.
Hey, David. Thanks
Hey,
for
brother,
the
how are you?
introduction. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're just sitting here cackling and acting like a bunch of schmucks, but otherwise we're fine.
It's all in good fun, right?
Yep. So where are you tonight on this beautiful mid-spring night?
I'm just sitting at home, Hudson Valley, New York.
Mm-hmm. Just chillaxing. Did you do
Yeah.
anything fun this weekend?
No, not really. Just kind of hung out, did a little work on my car. Nothing interesting.
Did you write?
No, I probably should have, though.
I give you guys a lot of credit. Writers have a very solemn task. It's you and that page, and I really admire it. It's a very noble thing, I feel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to hit you with
Love
an
doing
easy. I'm going to hit you with an easy question to start, but it's something that I like to find out about every writer that I have on the show. Tell me about one of the best pieces you have written and why you feel it is one of the best pieces you have written.
It was a piece of flash fiction I wrote. It was titled "An Ensemble of Worms," and I really liked the language I used in it, and like the theme and the feeling that the piece gave off, and in a way, it kind of came together as a symphony of words, so to speak. And it was only like maybe 300 or 400 word piece, very short, but it just came together so perfectly, and I was so satisfied with it that piece has always kind of stuck with me as one of my favorites.
And how old were you when you wrote that?
How long ago was that? That was probably about maybe 7-8 years ago. It's probably about 32, 31.
Oh, sweet. I thought you
well,
were
I
like
gotta-
30. I thought you were like 32, 31 now.
Yeah, me
I
too.
know. I look young. I'm actually 39, but
Okay, so David, I've got to do something, and I'm sorry. That was a great question, but I got to pass that question off to Mr. Schiaffo as well, though.
That's true.
I'm curious about
Writing?
writing. Like, what's the either poetry or a song? What's the one that?
Well, I got to say that the book was truly streams of semi-consciousness. So I don't feel like I was 100%, not even close to 100% in the actual driver's seat, like I was under the influence of a lot of different things 90% of the time of the writing of that book. So that's hard to answer. And as far as the value of the book for me, I've never been able to speak on that. All I could say is that there isn't any fiction in that book, but I can't speak on the merit of the writing. But a gentleman like Lee, who, when you set out to write fiction, regardless of the genre, writing is writing is a very serious endeavor. I feel I respect the writers. Without the writers, we have nothing. You know, actors have nothing. There's nothing to direct without that. This all starts on the page.
Yep.
You know,
All the magic starts on a blank piece of paper, and the words bring the magic alive. Lee, when you were a kid growing up, who were some of the writers that inspired you, and why did those specific writers inspire you?
Definitely, the easy answer is Stephen King. I read a lot of King, Dean Koontz. I also really like Bentley Little. He's one of my favorite authors. But I also read a lot of stuff that was outside the horror genre. I love Franz Kafka.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's classic literature and it's not horror, the stuff he wrote was just horrific. So I drew a lot of inspiration from that as well, even though it was outside the genre.
sure, Kafka could definitely be seen as dark and menacing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I was just taking in what you said, and something occurred to me as when I write screenplays and stuff. Do you go to certain places in your mind when you're thinking about, like, when you write a film? Sadly, when you're an independent filmmaker and you're writing an independent film, you have to write within the confines of what you'll be able to film based upon the restrictions you have, budget, and the great thing about being a writer of books is that your mind could take you anywhere and you could pretty much do anything. With that being said, can you tell us, is there anything tonal that inspires you to write more? Because I always find that I write much better in the fall when the leaves are changing, when it's Halloween season, when it's a change in seasons. For some reason, a lot of environmental things affect me when I'm writing. Do you have the same kind of feelings when it comes to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always get in the mood for Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So that's always a great time to write. But the rest of the year, I usually use music to set the mood.
Okay.
I'll listen to a lot of like instrumental music so that the lyrics don't interfere with what I'm working on. And it kind of like sets the tone and the mood, and it just kind of helps the words flow better, I think.
Mm-hmm. When you write, do you use like grammar tools and editing tools, or do you, after you're done with your work, do you send it off to an editor?
Yeah, I don't worry about it until it's done. I try to get it all out there on the page first because if you try to edit while you're writing, it's kind of a exercise in futility because you just kind of go in circles a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you consider some of your strengths as a writer?
I'd have to say, well, something I like about my writing, and I guess it's subjective whether or not it's a strength, but I like to write very concise. I'm not a long-handed or long-winded writer.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I've only done novellas and short fiction, and that's also why flash fiction is one of my favorite formats to write in. I like the quick, hard jab, and leaving out the unnecessary details and getting right to the meat of it.
Mm-hmm. So you like, would you say that that lends you to better be a short story writer, or do you think that there's enough in there for you to write full on novels?
I actually wrote a full length novel. It's unpublished. It was the first full length piece I ever wrote. That was my first go around at trying at writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I am capable of writing something that long, I guess, but I do enjoy the shorter stuff better.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to see yourself 30 years from now, what will you have? What do you want to see as one of your major accomplishments? What do you wish to accomplish as a writer?
I think probably one of my main dreams as a writer would be to see one of my books adapted to a film.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to see that because I grew up watching horror movies, reading horror books, and I just think it would be so cool to see that visually and see it on the screen.
Have you ever taken a stab at writing a screenplay?
Not really. I had an idea for one, but I never actually tried to write it.
because right now the WJA is on strike, and it's probably the best time to get screenplays.
Yeah, right.
Uh, tell us a little bit. Uh, just blurt out a title of one of your favorite books that you have written, and tell us a little bit about it. Do you have
Uh,
any? Do you have any of them around you at the moment?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I always keep them around.
Okay.
Well, my favorite book is The Berry Box.
Okay.
This one here. And
Tell
that's
us
my
about
favorite.
the Berry Box.
Yeah, that's my favorite for a few reasons. This is actually based on true events. So it's about a house that I grew up in when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
and it was haunted. And
Wow.
throughout pretty much my whole life, I always wanted to write that story. And funny enough, it wasn't the first book I wrote, but it was the second book.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's actually a lot of truth in the book, behind all the extraneous fiction and, all the crazier elements in the book.
Is there anything that actually happened to you in that house growing up that you could share with us? That was like a ghost story.
Yeah, there was a room in the house. It was kind of in between the kitchen and the living room. It was kind of like I guess a little dining room area, but no one used that room. Everyone hated that room. We didn't even use it. We would walk from the kitchen to the living room and try to rush through that room as fast as we could, because every time you went in there, it was super uncomfortable. You got to chill up your spine. It was just like you didn't want to be in there for some reason.
It's funny because in this house that I live in now, we have one closet that's up on the upper floor on the far end of the house. That's always about 20 to 30 degrees cooler than any part of the house. And we have clothes in there, but every time, do you know when you go to the dry cleaner and they put that clear plastic over your clothing?
Mm.
Every time we put a piece of clothing in that closet with that clear plastic on, sometime even within a month, we open it up and that clear plastic is shredded to we don't know if our dry cleaner uses some kind of biodegradable plastic that falls apart. I've never seen it before, but it literally turns it into confetti after and it's just very, very weird and creepy.
So I'm curious, Lee, has anybody ever investigated that house?
I don't believe so. I've driven by there a bunch of times, and it seems like people live there. So, and I've always thought about going up, but feeling comfortable just walking up to a random person's door and knocking on it, like, "Hey, I used to live
Hey,
here."
you don't know me, but I
Your
used
house
to
is
live
haunted,
here.
but so you might want to check that. But no, as far as I know, it's never been actually investigated by anybody in the paranormal field or anything like that.
Now, do you have another book that you could share with us? Your thoughts on that you have with?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is my other novella, Zero Perspective.
Okay.
And this one's kind of a sci-fi horror. So I went kind of on the sci-fi side with that one. And the story behind that book is a little funny because it actually started out as a short story.
Mm-hmm.
And as I wrote it, it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. And by the time I got near the end, I was like, this is long enough for a novella, actually. So I kind of fleshed it out a bit and made it a whole book out of it.
And tell us a little bit about what takes place in that book.
So that one is about a crew of astronauts who go to investigate a spaceship that has lost communication, and they don't know what happened to it. So they're kind of sent on a rescue mission. But when they show up on the ship, it's empty and no one's there. And they get to the bridge of the ship and find the crew dead. But it looks like they've been dead for decades. Like they're just desiccated, when really it's only been a couple of months.
Huh.
And then once they leave that room, they can't find their way back to exit the ship. And it kind of has an Alice in Wonderland thing going to it, where the further they go in the ship, the deeper they go, and they can't get back. And things just get crazy.
Were you inspired at all growing up by the original Twilight Zone episodes? Because I see a direct connection in some of your work to the stories and the writings of the original Twilight Zone episodes.
I'd have to say, not actively, but probably subconsciously there is. I grew up on that. We always watched the Twilight Zone marathon on TV every year. I've seen every episode probably 100 times. So there's got to be some influence in there, I think, just from watching it so much.
Now, do you have any other hobbies and interests outside of writing?
Yeah, a little bit. I play guitar,
Hmm.
a little bit on the keyboard. Um, yeah, so a little bit of a musician. I played the bass guitar as well. Used to
Now,
be in a couple of bands,
sweet.
but
Scott
it's
Grunkle Scott's excited because he's a master musician and is
I see the guitar in the background. Nice.
That's a
uh,
sweet axe, man. That's a beautiful guitar. But the Barry box is probably really ripe for a screenplay adaptation because I think the haunted house genre is timeless. People
Yeah.
love movies about haunted houses. So you may very well get your milestone way sooner than you think if you keep at it. That's wonderful.
I
yeah,
hope
and
so.
I don't remember the last time we had a great haunted house movie, but there has been some really great ones in the past. I mean,
There was a really good one. It was a comedy horror. I don't know
okay.
if you guys saw it. It was called The Selling,
So,
and
no.
it was about a realtor, and he's trying to sell this haunted house. Oh, it was hilarious. Great food. Great film.
Sweet. The legendary Drew Gutierrez. Hey, how are you, Drew? I hope you're well. Thank you for. It's a show you missed, Scott. Drew is an actor who's been in some wonderful, wonderful movies and was just a great guy. We gotta get you guys together because he's also a musician and just a great guy. Sean asked when is Full Moon Fever available by. Hopefully this fall. Hopefully this fall, Sean. So keep your fingers crossed. Do you have another book that you want to share with us?
Yeah, actually, I do. This one is a collection of short stories, Fragments of a Damned Mind.
Okay, and you know what?
Um,
So wait before you start. My daughter who came and visited us at the convention we were at. I mean, it's a book signing we were at. Got that book from you, and she's an aspiring writer. She read it and thought it was fantastic. And I also want to thank you for
Thank you.
being extraordinarily kind to her that day. She looks up to writers tremendously because that's what she wants to do. What would you? I'll let you when you're done telling us what Fragments is about. What would you give as a piece of advice to up and coming writers? But first, tell us what Fragments is about, and then part two will be what advice would you give to up and coming writers?
Sure. Yeah, so Fragments, it's a collection of 15 of my favorite short stories that I've written over the years. An ensemble of worms is in there, the one I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, really, it's just a collection of some of my darkest stuff that really like the stuff that I really was happy with when I was done with it.
That's a great title too.
That is.
Yep. So tell us a little bit. What would you tell an up and coming writer who came to you looking for any kind of feedback or information?
Yeah, I would say the best thing to do. I mean, the easy answer is to read a lot, and definitely read in the genre you want to read in. But I also suggest reading outside of the genre, like I did. Like I read like a lot of classic literature and things like that, and that brings I feel like it brings a little extra to the table that you can incorporate into the horror. And also just do a lot of writing, and don't worry about how good it is or how bad it is. You can always improve your writing.
I think one of the biggest problems with somebody like my daughter's age, she's only 19 years old, is that, and I don't know if you ran across the same thing when you were younger, but it seems that when you're a good writer at a young age, you lose the patience that you need to become a great writer. It's very hard to understand that with time and with experience, you understand how things work better and you become better at your craft. When you're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, you want to get your stuff out and you think you are, writing at your peak, but you're really not because there's so much more yet to learn. You think that's a fair kind of assessment?
Oh yeah, it takes years to really, you know, hone that craft, and I don't think anyone's ever finished doing that.
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful things about being an artist is that you can continuously get better at what you. I mean, some of the stuff I shot in my newest film, I feel is some of my best stuff ever, because I just got better at, at my craft, and that's wonderful, because I feel a lot of artists, especially in film, kind of get stuck in a place because they hit a level of fame doing that specific type of thing, and then there's really no room for growth. But I guess when you're a writer and the piece of paper is blank, it can take you anywhere, and that's pretty fantastic. What do you do, Lee, if you have a severe case of writer's block?
Honestly, I'll just switch to another project.
Mhm.
I never stick myself with only one thing to work on, because then if I get stuck, there's nothing to do. So I always have multiple stories or books happening at the same time, and whichever one is just feeling right, that's what I'll be working on.
Mhm. What's your latest book? Do you have it next to you right now?
Nope, those are the only ones that I have currently published in paperback. I have a
Okay.
couple of Kindle stories out there, but
So
um,
which one was your latest? Because I see that
um, the
Sean
very box.
Smithson wants to get an autographed copy. So we got to
Oh,
figure out
okay.
how we're going to get people to uh, be able to purchase your books. Uh,
Cool, the berry box.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, you can just I'll put my email up. You can shoot me an email and be happy to send them a signed copy.
if if the,
Absolutely.
if there's if you you're a young man still, but if you were to identify a weakness in your writing that you would like to either get stronger at, or and you may not feel like you have one, but if you did, what skill do you think you'd like to hone a little better as you get older?
Hmm. I'd probably have to say trying to write longer works.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, that first novel I wrote, it's kind of a mess, and I do love the novella format and short stories, but sometimes I do struggle with the longer pieces. Like I've been invited to write for certain things, and they want a certain word count, and sometimes I struggle to reach that word count because I write so short and quick. And I don't like to stuff it with a lot of filler and slow the story down. So sometimes it'd be tricky to find a way to keep that pace going.
Do you find the hardest part in writing is the development of character?
Actually, not for me personally.
Mm.
Really, when I create my characters, I kind of just assign them a base personality, and then I let the story kind of build the character on its own
Right.
organically. Like I'll present the character with a situation, and rather than decide what the character does, I'll think about what would they do based on their personality.
Right, because I think the most important thing in fiction or in books or in movies is that if you don't have characters that people can relate to or care about, ultimately, when the things that propel the story happen to them, you just don't care. So it's very important that you have wonderful character development, which you do. Drew Godaris has a question for you. Ask him if he becomes the character who he's writing in essence. Does he switch personalities as he's writing each character's lines and becomes that individual?
I'd have to say, in some ways, yes. When I dive into that character's perspective, it I don't want to say it's like acting because it's not, but in a way, you kind of have to see things from their point of view to get the right dialogue, to get the right words out, to get the right reactions or facial expressions.
Hmm. Now, Scott, I'm going to ask you a question because you write both music and books. Uh, which one's harder? Is it harder to write a book or is it harder to write music?
I would never in a million years put myself in Lee's category. I wrote one little weenie book 20 years ago, and it
Which is
wasn't
a
a book.
great book.
Well, thank you, but it wasn't a book when it was written. It was a collection of short poems and short stories
Mm.
that became a book. So, yeah, again, I've said this a few times already tonight, and it's the truth. I really, really admire and respect writers because that's a very serious craft, I believe it's a very serious craft that requires a tremendous amount of dedication and the ability to be solemn with yourself. What the heck is going on? Are you hearing like a chirp?
Not only a chirp, but like a background TV or something,
Like
or
a
radio.
reverb.
Yeah.
Well, it's very quiet in here, but I'm hearing chirps somewhere.
Oh.
Anyway,
Unsure.
and as far as writing, I haven't written a tremendous amount of songs with lyrics. I have written a lot of songs with lyrics, but most of the music I've written has been instrumental for placement in film or placement, as a music bed. So to me, creating anything is monumental, and where it comes from is I have no idea. Sometimes everything seems to come from a different place. I personally have no step process at all. I could sit with a guitar and one day 2 tunes might come out and nothing might not come out for 2 weeks.
I hear you. Lee, when you're about to write a book, what do you use as resource material to like check? Like, do you do a lot of don't know what the word I'm looking for, like resource tools like Wikipedia, and do you do
There's a lot of research involved.
research? There you go. I was
Yeah.
using resource instead of research. That's what happens when you get old and senile. Lee. I apologize.
No worries. But yeah, there's a lot of research involved. If it's anything that I'm not 100% sure is accurate, I look it up because, one of the worst things you want to do is put something out there that's just not right, and, that can get you bad reviews on the book and all that kind of stuff. So very important to make sure, what you're putting on the paper is accurate.
Well, you know what? That raises a question in my mind quickly, Lee. Let me ask you. Fiction, isn't there a certain amount of license you could take that, I mean, 1 and 1 is 2. In your book, if 1 and 1 is 3, that's the way it is. But fact within fiction, aren't you allowed to play with fact in fiction?
Absolutely. You definitely are, but I think there's a certain line, where you can cross where it just becomes, the suspension of disbelief just becomes a little,
I guess.
Still,
Yeah.
it can be so fantastical, but it has to kind of still be believable at the same time.
It's an interesting concept. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Never
Yeah.
thought of it before. Yeah.
If you were to take one of your books and turn it into a screenplay, what would be the first steps of the process you would do? Would you try to learn how to write, or do you already know how to write in like a screenplay formula or fashion, or would you?
Yeah, I would have to look into. Yeah, I would probably have to research how to write a screenplay first before I even tried to tackle it. The format and the style and how it's done.
It's something that I suggest to all writers, because right now there is so much streaming content that needs to be filled that writing things that could be shot makes a hell of a big difference for writers. Drew Gadara says, when I write, I find it works best for me initially to do longhand. Stream of consciousness seems to be hit me quicker, and then later on I can go back. Once I type that stuff out on the computer, I can edit it there. So when I initially start writing, there's no editing, and it's all actually a stream of consciousness right to the page. Do either of you guys do that as well?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Because once you stop, to look something up or do this or that, you might lose that nice wave you were riding.
You, Scott?
Again, my book was sort of like the inner ramblings of a lunatic on lots of substances. So I wasn't sitting there thinking it through. I was spewing it out. Later on, when the fog lifted, I would clean it up a little bit, edit it here and there. But it was very therapeutic for me because it was during a lot of periods of my life where I wasn't capable of doing much else other than blackout drinking, taking to the streets for whatever drugs I was doing that particular binge, hanging out in the flop houses and the strip joints, and then writing about it. It was very dark. It was a very dark time, but I don't want to make light of it. But that book was written out of it was madness. It wasn't at all. Lee will sit down consciously as a writer and put his best foot forward and write. I was spewing out madness, hoping not to die. I know that sounds crazy.
I'm laughing just because I'm not laughing at it.
But it's true.
Yeah,
it's really true.
And
I
it's
feel like
amazing.
Where you get a lot of good material is the darkest places bring the most creativity.
It's true. It's really true. And I have a screenwriter friend he's a very straight-laced kind of cat. And he's done many projects. And he's always wondered or always would ask, or he would get very frustrated to think that why does it seem like the best writers have to be alcoholic or depressed or suicidal? And that's not really true. But there is a lot of creatives who went through a lot of personal suffering, most by their own hand, some not. Some grew up in horrible households or something. But there's behind a lot of great pain can be a lot of great art.
Absolutely.
It's funny though. When you write things that the content is sweet and endearing and nice and kind, for some reason, no matter how good of a writer you are, it always comes off kind of schmaltzy. And for some reason, people are repelled against things that are good and kind and wonderful. They want to read the dark sides of humanity and the crueler sides of human nature, which is just sucks, I guess, when you speak of us as a species. But when you write, I mean, have you guys ever really read anything that was really nice and sweet and kind and were like, yes, that's for me?
Well, there's I guess it depends. I mean, there's some, Mark Twain or Dickens or children's things, but I understand what you're saying.
I mean, Dickens' most famous work is A Christmas Carol, and it's about dead guys coming back to talk to some prick to start spending his money, dude.
True, but I mean, there's a tremendous amount of heart there,
No. I mean, in the end, the guy who was a schmuck to everybody for 50 years is nice, like right before he dies, and everything's good. It's kind of, if you really look at it, it's probably darker than what most people would think.
Well, I know as a kid, like there were a couple of the original ones that used to scare the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. The Christmas Carol,
Yep.
They're very scary when you're 7 years old,
I was a Mr. Magoo Christmas Carol guy, so I think that was the best Christmas Carol.
Oh my God.
Lee, you do a bunch of book signings at stores and conventions and stuff. Do you have any great stories of something that happened at a particular show or a store or anything exciting that ever happened?
Nothing too crazy. Nothing crazy, honestly. Yeah, nothing comes to mind, really. They're all pretty relaxed.
Except that lady yelling at me at the last show. I had no idea what that was about.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Well, wait a minute now. We got to hear the story. What happened?
Some lady, I think she was at your table, actually. I was buying a book from Lee, and somebody mentioned me, and she was like, she said somebody knew me. I had no idea who she was. And she just
what was she talking about? Like, she left, and we're like, what? This happened.
Social media, man.
She was actually like, she was lauding all the writers, and then somebody said Dave Madison, and she just was like, shut off. She's like, that guy could burn in hell as far as she was concerned. That guy.
So wait a minute.
That guy being me, of course.
There's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, wait. I'm not understanding. She went on a tirade and said nasty things about you?
No, she didn't say anything. She said, I think she brought up another friend. Lee might remember. She's like, so-and-so knows you guys, meaning the writers. And I might have jokingly said something like, but she doesn't know me. Like, And she goes, "Oh, she knows you," and it was like really like.
But none of us had any idea who this person was, who she was talking about. I don't know her.
Woo!
These signings and conventions are becoming like a war zone out there, Scott. You never know what's going to happen.
I tell you, I was genuinely worried in that last one for about 10 minutes. I thought for sure that the place was going to get shot up, and that's not funny.
Lee, do you know what's next for you as far as a book? Do you got something that you're cooking on?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got something that's pretty far into it, probably about halfway mark, I'd say. It's going really well. The inspiration's flowing, so I'm just chugging along at it.
Do we have a title yet?
I have a working title. I don't know if it's going to end up being the title. Probably not, because my working titles never end up being the actual title. For right now, it's called "It Came with the House."
Oh, sweet.
That's a cool name. That's a cool title.
Yeah.
Like that. Sounds like an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. Much more visceral than that, though. This one's going to be pretty bad.
Sweet. Lee, tell us where we can find you virally online and where we can pick up your books.
Oh, yeah. You can pick up all my books on Amazon. You can also find me on my website, leandrewforman.com, and also Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm all there at Leandrew Forman.
Sweet. Lee, thank you for joining us tonight. As you know, I'm a big fan of your work. I can't wait to maybe do another show with you and maybe hang out at Emmett's Haven for Heroes. I think you have an enormous future. I think your work is fantastic. Thank you again for being kind to my daughter at the show that day. She's very impressionable when it comes to writers that she respects. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Lee Andrew Forman. Lee, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, everybody, make sure you check out Lee's books, Lee Andrew Forman's books on Amazon if you want to purchase a copy. And Lee, before you go, do you have a place if somebody wants to purchase an autographed copy from you where they can go?
I don't have a shop set up yet. I'm actually in the process of working on that.
If somebody reached out to you on Facebook or something, and
absolutely,
they could buy one from you,
yeah, Facebook, Instagram, just shoot me a message.
Yeah, so if you want to get an autographed copy of one of Lee's
absolutely
books, you can purchase it from Lee directly. Just send him a IM or something on his one of his viral meetings. Again, Lee, thank you again, pal. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, you guys have a great night.
You do the same. Thank you. Oh, wrong button.
Wrong button.
This is what happens when people don't know what they're doing. You would think that Scott or Dave was on the board, not me. Anyway. I was trying to think though. It's like the one book he was referring to. I believe it was the second one pertaining to the house he lived in. I'm definitely interested in that. So
yeah, I think haunted houses is like a timeless thing. And if it's based in some actual of his own actual experience, that's a very cool thing,
I was trying to think. I couldn't remember for the life of me, but one of my favorite haunted house movies had Betty Davis and Oliver Reed. And if somebody who's watching could let me remember what it was called. But man,
where's JC? JC knows everything.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
JW.
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 I don't think he's on tonight, but what a great horror film that was. I keep thinking Trilogy of Terror, but that was the Karen Black with the little doll chasing them around.
And I think there was two of those.
What?
There were two of those.
Yes, there were two. Was there two Trilogy of Terrors? What did they do? They made like a cheesy one in the 80s to kind of. Yeah.
Well, the original TV movie, and then they made a second one a few years later, I believe.
Wasn't there also, too, that there was a premise that's probably been done a bunch of times where people have to stay in the house overnight in order to inherit the money? And
Vincent Price.
Yeah, House on Haunted Hill.
But, I mean, that premise has been sort of reworked a million different ways.
A million times, yeah. I'm trying to think of there was another remake, I think. Wow, Matthew Lillard was in it. 13
No, I know
Ghosts.
which one you're talking. That was House on Haunted Hill, I think.
And there was another one, 13 Ghosts. That was kind of like the same thing. It was a haunted house. People were stuck in it, and my neighborhood was haunted. I posted a link in Roku Rocks to the episode.
Oh, sweet! A whole neighborhood that's haunted. Well, we have that one here at Centralia in Pennsylvania where the underground fire has been burning for the last 40 years, and they abandoned everybody out. Sean just sent me a thing, so I got. I'm getting old. And, maybe it's time for me to hang up my broadcasting mic, guys, because I'm getting feeble.
To hell you say?
I'm getting feeble. I don't know why.
No, it's the hair tonight.
It's the hair. It's the something
It's
about
the
Mary
something
hair.
about Mary hair.
It's just I have too much jizz in my hair. Apparently.
I'll make you feel better here. Oh no.
Oh,
These
dude,
boys.
dude,
Everybody's
Burnt
got.
Offerings. Thank you, Drew. Drew is like my hero now. Burnt Offerings was the name of that film. I love that movie. It was fantastic. Burnt Offerings. Thank you, Drew. It was definitely. I don't even know if that movie ever came out on Blu-ray, but that was a great movie. You got to go back, Joe. There's an episode of Family Guy. You know how the doctor is like a reoccurring character.
Yes.
He takes his. He always has the headpiece on because he's a doctor or a surgeon, and he takes it off, and his hair comes down to this, and he has the mustache and the goatee. And in one scene, he's playing like a boombox and doing like a Beavis and Butthead thing. Dude, he looks so much like you in that scene.
Great. That's what I get for cutting my hair off, huh?
No, it looks good, brother.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Scooby Doo says Matthew Lillard. That was 13 Ghosts. Okay, Sean says.
He's actually a really sweet dude. I've had some encounters with him. He's a nice guy. Tall as hell.
I was going to say, isn't he like 8 feet tall?
Yeah, he's like a basketball player type tall.
Is he taller than I am?
It's a tough question. I don't know for sure if he may be. He's definitely up in. He's got to have at least 6 inches on me, and I'm like 5'11", 5'10".
Dude, I have like 2 feet on you.
Well, what is you're 6 what?
7.
You're 6'7". Wow.
Yeah, that's all.
No, I don't think he probably can't be taller than that. Everybody seems bigger than me because I'm shrinking because I'm getting old and
I'm 7'1" with this hair.
Good hair, man.
New York's new center for the New York Knickerbockers.
Did you guys see She Said?
What's that?
It's the movie based on the Me Too movement and the outing of Weinstein.
Oh no, who's the lead speaker?
Well, the main cast are the people at the New York Times who really did the article, so it's not like they're celebrities themselves. And I can't recall now right off. I just saw it a little while ago, but I was blown away to finally see that movie and to share quickly that we all know what a monster he was, but I was given a really interesting little nugget or gift that I found out about years later. Now, everybody knows that the Miramax bought Clerks, and they bought it at Sundance. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but the people who are hardcore fans know this. Harvey, when the Chulies Gum guy came on, went screaming out of the theater furious. He hated it because he was like a chain smoker, and it was so insulting to him. He thought it was the worst thing ever. And like his brother Bob had to convince him to come back in. The movie's really good, blah, blah, blah. But I never heard that story for years. And I'm just so glad now that we find out what a piece of garbage that guy was, that I was able to piss him off like a little baby and go running out of the theater. I mean, I didn't. The character did. But as Jewel and I were just cracking up about it as we're watching the movie, thinking, can you imagine this monster who bullied everybody went running out of the theater because of the Chulies guy? Come on. It's hilarious.
You have that effect on people, Scott. You're quite an intimidating person. You're literally.
You mean when he's not missing?
You're turning like into an Al Pacino hitman as you're getting.
I'm doing my opposite. I'm doing De Niro from Angel Heart. That's what this whole look is.
By the way, you look awesome. You look a lot healthier and fitter than you have in recently. Are you feeling better? Is something going
Vibrant as well. Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. I did cut a bunch of weight over the last year because we all gained over COVID. But No, I appreciate that. I'm just doing my best every day and eating well, and you know, that's very nice to hear. Thank you, guys.
No, you look absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight, joining us for episode 9,246,333. It was fun.
Four.
Lee Andrew Forman's just a great guy. Make sure you check out his work. Make sure you check out his books. I want to thank him for coming on. Next week, of course, is Memorial Day weekend. I'm having a big Memorial Day weekend party on that Sunday, so I'm not going to come on here and act like a drunken asshole, because that's what I will be at 10 o'clock next weekend at Sunday.
Dave, you don't drink. Stop.
No, I do on very rare occasions. I went to the track last night and had a few and lost my shirt, which sucked. I used to be able to, when I would go to the track, win an occasion. Like, if I bet on, 13 races, I might win 2 or 3. 0 for 13 last night.
Wow, really?
Absolute, complete, total loser.
Where did you? What track is near you down?
Well, last night I went to the Meadowlands because it's prime rib night on Friday nights at the Meadowlands. So
Jersey Meadowlands? My Meadowlands?
yeah,
Holy hell, dude! Isn't that like an hour and a half, 2 hours for you one way?
I've been eating 3 times a week at a Chinese place. It's literally less than 10 minutes away from your house if you ever want to meet me for Chinese food.
You're kidding me? Where? What town?
It's called Grand Buffet. It's right by the only Kmart that's still left in the country.
There's
Oh,
still a Kmart.
Do you know where it is?
I guess I'm not. I don't recall offhand. You don't know the name of the town?
No.
Wow, I'm sure. I can't believe you're at the Meadowlands,
Saddlebrook.
dude. Saddlebrook is where I live.
Yeah, I know. That's
I mean,
where,
I'm in River Edge now, but
yeah, Saddlebrook is where the restaurant is. It's the Chinese buffet right there. What's that main road right there that has the
Market
gas station?
Street.
I don't know.
It's got to be. Oh my! I can't believe you are. Well, I'm
But
not.
getting you out of your cave is literally extracting a wisdom tooth. So I don't even.
Well, I mean, I'm not in Saddlebrook hardly at all anymore, but I will become the warmer months back. I'm doing I do a 6-month residency now in River Edge, 6 months residency in Saddlebrook, but I can't believe you're at the Meadowlands. Wow, that's mind blowing. And not a single race. You didn't win, place, and show, huh?
No, Mandy won. Not a superfecta, not a trifecta. What's an exacta? Where she picked the first and second horse. She won 2 of those.
Oh wow!
I won Skunot.
It just means you have to
You
come
like
down
my shirt,
here.
guys?
Oh well, we can't hold it.
Nice.
Happy Festivus! Wow, and it
There
has
you
the
go.
pole.
Yes, I'm getting ready for my Festivus season. My wife and daughter just abusing the shit out of me. Hi, Sean. How are you, pal? Horse racing. I love watching them, betting on them. I'm hoping to make it to the Kentucky. Yeah, the Kentucky Derby would probably be pretty awesome.
Now, you see, you need to quit the horse racing. You need to come down here and bet on High Lie.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You have a better chance of winning Lotto than me stepping foot in Florida.
Woo!
Damn.
Only been to Florida once, and that was recently. And of course, it was a good time. It was a convention, but
That's not Florida. That's Alabama.
dude, it's crazy how west it is. It's like the way west tip. It was far from the coast.
The
Yeah,
Panhandle. We don't consider that Florida.
It's so funny. I have so many dear friends in Florida, and of course, I would love to come down and visit you, Joe. But there's just something about Florida, man. It just rubs me the wrong way, dude. I'm sorry.
I can understand. I've been.
You got
here.
Whataburgers though. You got that going for you.
No, not around here. I don't think.
Oh, I think they're all
Maybe.
north Jacksonville.
I thought that was California. I didn't realize that was Florida.
What, Whataburgers?
Yeah,
Texas and Florida.
Texas. Texas, I knew that. Florida, LOL. No thanks.
Damn, we've got a reputation down here.
Yeah. Well, you got Satan as a governor, dude.
Zing!
Yeah, but we still have Tampa, Orlando, West Palm, Miami, the Treasure Coast.
Yeah, but he's still the governor of all those places.
Yeah, not when I'm on the water on the boat and relaxing and fishing and
I hear you. No. Florida's fine. I was just kidding. I love Florida. I can't wait to never go there again. In-N-Out Burgers in California. Oh yeah, I know. Those are. I actually had my first In-N-Out Burger last year when I went out to Hollywood, and when I on my way back from Vegas, there's this little town that literally was like in the middle of the sand, and they had an In-N-Out Burger. It was kind of cool.
So, Dave, when do you start your summer cross-country trip?
2 weeks from Monday.
Oh, so I guess will we be off for a bunch of weeks?
I'm going to be away for 3, and I think I'm going to do one show from a really cool place in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
With some cool guests literally sitting next to me. So
Okay, so we have next weekend off, and then after that,
after that, we'll have a show, and then I leave, and then we'll figure it out.
Sweet.
We got a lot of shows in the can for 2023 already. Maybe we should just take the rest of the year off.
The hell you say?
Except Mr. Schiaffo here. I show up like, he's like Santa Claus. He comes once a year. I'm like Santa Claus.
I mean, this was, I guess there was 3 cons since the new year.
And then you had Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, which I completely forgot was Sunday, and when I was away. So, and then we missed a few, and yeah, it feels like it's. Yeah, it really feels like it's been forever.
We started to think you didn't love us anymore.
Well, not for nothing. Dave was talking about replacing you with Ernie O'Donnell, but I convinced him not to.
Oh yes,
He could definitely be my swing. Ernie. Well, to his credit, Ernie actually is a lot funnier than I am. Because Ernie has no problem insulting everybody.
This is very true.
He's ballsy that way. I try to. I don't want to. I don't like to stir up the poo,
Oh,
like
come
David.
On. Me? I don't stir up any poo. I just seem to step in it all the time.
I don't know. We just heard stories about conventions today that you were at. So.
I don't know. Well, I don't have like a crazed gunman walking around me like Scott does. So. I don't have anything.
That was genuinely scary.
I can only imagine that's freaky shit. When you don't know if somebody's mind is stable or not, and
yeah. Well, there aren't that many people that you get that from. But when you could look at somebody's face in their eyes and you just know something's not right, and then for them to be blurting out, it was unsettling. Had I not seen him at another gig, because I had right away, everybody got upset. And I went over to Marilyn and Brian, because I think it happened on Marilyn's booth. And I said, we've seen him before. He's done this routine where he comes up to one of us, makes the joke about the customers, because it's pertinent for the movie. I effing hate the customers. But it's not said funny. It's not said, it's said like out of the, like blood-curdlingly loud and intense to where everybody stops and looks. And, it was weird, but thankfully he did not flip out on my dime.
Okay, with that being said, again, thank you, Lee Andrew Forman, for joining us tonight. Look for this crazy mess of a show sometime after next week. We'll be popping up with... I can't wait for the WGA strike, because I had some really cool shows lined up.
That's a shame, too.
But those clowns are giving me a hard time because they literally can't talk about programs that they're on due to the strike, which I find bizarre, but whatever makes sense.
And guys, I mean, these were some heavy freaking hitters, and I was gutted when I found out that...
Well, everybody knows we had Sean Tretta, the writer of 3 episodes of Star Trek, lined up, but he was unable to do the show because he agreed to do the show, and then the strike happened. And then we had his lovely wife, Tiffany Shepard, who plays Dr. Ork on Picard Season 3, and the lovely Jerry Ryan, who plays, is it 7 of 9? 7 of 9, who are going to do a show together, but in solidarity with the WGA and the writer's strike, a lot of people are not doing shows talking or promoting their program. So,
and I haven't seen the actual show, but from what JW told me is Jerry is going to blow up sometimes after the last episode or something, she becomes. I don't want to do any spoilers for anyone.
The next tier of what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was all lined up, and as everybody knows, I'm very close with both Sean and Tiff, and they apologize profusely for not being able to come on the show. But they're in solidarity and not talking about programs. So once that miserable strike is over and people are working again, we'll get our Star Trek shows back on the air. With that being said, again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Memorial Day weekend's next weekend. Everybody have a great time.
Make sure to go and subscribe to Dave Lee Madison's The End of the Night on Facebook. Also, the Indie Escape Network on all our social platforms. Please, doesn't cost you a thing. It's one minor click, and it means the world to us.
Yes, thank you again, of course, and follow all the lovely shows on here. But as I was saying, everybody make sure you next week, Memorial Day weekend, enjoy it, have a barbecue, have a beer, but make sure you're safe. Don't drink and drive. Take care of the people you love. And remember, no one... see, I fucked up my own line.
Well, you see, I interrupted you because I thought you were immediately going for your closing. That's the only reason I did it.
I'm telling you, I'm literally, like, the crystals are off. Some kind of weird shit's going on in here tonight. So I apologize to everybody who watched it. Every now and then I have a show like this where I'm a total schnook. It's pretty much every show, but I like to think it's every now and then.
It's got to be the hair.
Yeah, it's got to be the hair. Too much jizz in the hair. With that being said, everybody, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.